It's summer, and for me that means time to ferment on the hot porch with Kveik. Imperial Organic Yeast has a summer seasonal to add to the fun. Imperial A46 Bartleby is a Hornindal Kveik strain that's a great choice for anything from a traditional Norwegian farmhouse ale to a hazy IPA. When fermented at the high end of its temperature range, that's 98 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 C, Bartleby will produce a lot of pineapple, apricot, and peach aromas. It's a delicious way to turn summer heat into fast fermentations and tasty beers. Ask your local homebrew shop for Imperial's Summer Seasonal A46 Bartleby and check out Imperial Organic Yeast at imperialyeast.com. That's imperialyeast.com. Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, July 15th, 2021. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Steve Wilkes and I tackle water sampler number 3. This time, it's 100% wheat, and I add a fourth batch made with my filtered tap water with no water adjustments at all. And I gotta say, I learned a lot with this one. If you go to basicbrewing.com, you can find archives of our audio and video shows. And if you go to basicbrewingshop.com, you can find our DVDs and our brewers' logbooks. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Basic Brewing and find our show page on Facebook as well. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing. And thanks to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter, including early releases of our video shows, behind-the-scenes videos made when I'm brewing the beers for our video shows. Every now and then you'll see some cooking stuff or some fermenting food stuff that I've done. Also, you get the recipes delivered to your mailbox. So check that all out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. And many thanks to everybody who's supporting us in that way. Financial supporters have already seen the episode that I'm going to post for the general public this Friday. It's the one where I add dark sweet cherry puree into the keg with a Belgian-inspired brown ale. I like to say it's a salute to New Glarus, Wisconsin Belgian Red, and while it's not a clone, it is darn tasty. And I just tasted just a little bit just before I turned on the mic, just for quality control. Steve's been brewing up a storm lately, and so I'm hoping that we'll have a bunch of Steve beers coming up. In fact, the next video episode features a beer that Steve brewed and kind of forgot about in the fridge in a secondary fermenter. And we talk about that a little bit in the show later today. Let's take a look into the mailbag. Every now and then a listener is catching up on the archives and comments on a past episode. This was in reference to the conversation that Garrett from Man-Made Mead and I had about putting raisins in bottles of meads. Nick from Sweden writes about the use of raisins in brewing from your mead episode on 12121. It's possible that this is well known, and if so, I apologize. I didn't know about it. Raisins have long been used in brewing in Sweden, though most commonly not to add nutrients, even if it was long thought that raisins contribute there, too. Rather, it was and is used during carbonating all kinds of drinks in the bottle. Throw a raisin in the bottle during bottling, and you can tell that it is well carbonated when the raisin floats. This is not so relevant for beer, but sweeter sodas before forced carbonation were commercially possible. In particular, Nick says, an old type of drink called svagdricka, apologize for the pronunciation if I got that wrong. Svagdricka, literal translation, weak drink, was usually delivered flat, and you were expected to throw in some yeast and a raisin and not let it sit for too long, bottle bombs and all that. Nick says, Svagdricka is still sold and drunk, but usually comes carbonated nowadays. I personally use raisins when brewing some sweet ginger beer and the like. And Nick says in old soda bottles as a traditional way of keeping track of the pressure, and it works remarkably well. How cool is that? Thanks, Nick. I haven't tried that myself, but I saw a video the other day on how ginger beer was made in Victorian times, and while that wasn't carbonated, I would like to do that myself and maybe have a carbonated ginger beer. And this would be a fun thing to try when brewing, that ginger beer. Keep an eye on the raisin in the bottle to gauge carbonation level. It sounds like a science experiment. Thanks, Nick. Also on the topic of food products going into beverages, Gary from Hobart, Australia writes, I have this idea of using corn chips in a batch of beer. Could this work, and what needs to be done? Well, Gary, people have used flaked or corn flakes, as in cereal, and I've used flaked maize or corn in beers in the mash because they're pre-gelatinized. If you use just like corn, corn meal, you have to cook that. You have to pre-cook that to gelatinize it. But, corn chips are already cooked, so I don't think you have to do anything but just add those to the mash, and it should work. A couple of things to think about that, though. Some corn chips like Fritos here in the United States are really oily. In fact, I've seen some wintertime news stories on TV that recommend carrying a bag of Fritos in the trunk of your car during severe cold weather to help start a fire if you get stuck, because they'll burn from having all that oil. You can set Fritos on fire. Please be safe when you're setting Fritos on fire. So you'd think that, corn chips with that much oil would do a number on your head retention. So maybe look out for that, and maybe use baked corn chips. Also, corn chips tend to have a lot of salt, which would have an impact on the water chemistry and the flavor of your beer, you would think. So look out for oil and salt, and do a small batch first as a test. And definitely let us know how it goes if you make a beer with corn chips. Thanks, Gary. And if you've made a beer with corn chips, let me know. Ricky the Mead Maker from our friends and sponsors at Groenfell and Havoc Meaderies in Vermont texted me the other day and told me that this week Groenfell is going to announce the anniversary edition of Rumble, their very first sour mead. And Ricky says that I can be the first to announce it. In fact, I looked out on the website, and it's not announced yet, so you're hearing it here first. Very exciting. Rumble is a blackberry and blueberry sour mead made with local honey and wild yeast. It sounds fun. It sounds like it would make a great summer combination with the other sour offerings now available from Groenfell and Havoc, like Meaderitaville, which has pineapple, orange, and lime, Sour Mead Maker, which is a raspberry lime Ricky, pun intended, and Psychopomp, which is a cherry mead. Of course, you can get more traditional non-sour meads and honey beverages on Groenfell.com and have them shipped all over most of the country. And most of the meads on Groenfell.com are sessionable and drinkable and crushable and make the perfect combinations or companions, also combinations with food and stuff for your summertime outings. Check them all out at family-owned and operated Groenfell.com. That's GROENNFELL. By the way, Ricky sent me some pics of his and Kelly's baby boy, and boy, he's growing fast. And I sent Ricky a picture of our baby boy, who turned 21 this week. Ugh. Will was 5 when we started this podcast. 5. Okay, let's go to the porch, where Steve and I taste the third in the Water Sampler series, and I have to warn you, we were a bit silly. I hope you enjoy it. We did. The combination of good weather, good friends, and the recording of 2 previous video episodes had something to do with it. Steve Wilkes, welcome back to Basic Brewing Video.
Thanks, James.
Welcome back to the porch.
Yeah, I haven't been on the porch enough.
Well, let's solve that this summer.
I think that needs to be a high priority the rest of the summer.
We're here on July the 5th, and up until just moments ago, there was a nice breeze blowing, fairly low humidity for this time of year. It's really good. It's a really good time to be out drinking some wheat beers.
Indeed.
Out on the porch. And I'll try not to enunciate my H I've been criticized in the past for using the H in wheat, like Will Wheaton, but I'll try not to put too much emphasis on the H. I'm a wheat. And you're cheating. You're drinking some of your accidental triple. Oh shoot! What did I call it? I just named it, and now I've forgotten.
Rip Van Triple.
Rip Van Triple.
Yeah. Well, I'm using it as a palate cleanser,
Oh,
so it's okay.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. But that's what summer's all about.
That's right.
We're celebrating the independence from, I don't know, rules. Okay, here we are. This is the Water Sampler 3, and this was suggested by listener Danzy Nickel way back in the day. And Danzy sent us water profiles to apply to these beers. And I usually would do 3, malty, hoppy, and balanced. Mm-hmm. This time I decided to throw in a 4th, which is just filtered water coming out of my tap, going through a pure water filter. So I want to see, where the water from either the Beaver Lake, which is where it comes from sometimes, or Prairie Grove Lake, which is where it comes from at other times. And we don't really know when or where.
Really?
Yeah. It's just kind of like it just happens, apparently.
Huh.
So there you go. So what I did was, and we've recorded 2 video shows, so, and Steve's getting a spam call. Okay. So what I did was I took 3 quarts of water. No. A pre-boil volume of 5 quarts. And I brought that up to 162 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's 4.7 liters at 72 C. And into that I added 2 pounds or 900 grams of white wheat. So this is the first water sampler with wheat. And I rested that at 153 degrees Fahrenheit or 67 C in a preheated oven for 1 hour. I collected my wort and boiled for 30 minutes. And at the beginning of that 30-minute boil, I added 7 grams of crystal at 3.4% alpha acid. I chilled it down, and this time I usually use USO5. This time I used Safale WB06.
Yes.
And I used 2 grams instead of the standard 3 because we're splitting it amongst 4 beers instead of the 3 beers. And I brewed this on 2 days because it takes me like 2.5 hours to brew each of these.
Yeah, that's a lot of
each
work.
of these batches, and so I split it up.
Yeah.
So on the first day, I rested. No.
Oh, God.
Book 2. I am smoking a cigar right now. On the first day, I brewed the house water, which is just the water the tap water going through the pure water filter, and the balanced. So the house had an original gravity of 1059, a final gravity of 1008 for an ABV of 6.7%. The balanced had an original gravity of 1055, final gravity of 1006 for an ABV of 6.4%. On the next day, I brewed the bitter and the malty. So the bitter started out at 1059, ended at 1008 for 6.7%, and the malty started out at 1055, ended at 1008 at 6.2%. Now you might notice that the starting gravities are quite a bit lower. They're like 10 points lower. Like the previous water sampler with the barley, just 2-row, started off at around 1069. These started out at around 1059. So the wheat you get with this experiment, at least, worse efficiency. So, we got to talk about water chemistry as well. So Danzy, on the one which is the house water, I didn't mess with it at all. I just used filtered tap water. On the rest of them, I used reverse osmosis water from the grocery store. So we're starting with a clean slate. Mm-hmm. For the, each of these 6-packs, for the balanced, I used half a gram of gypsum, 0.75 grams of calcium chloride for a chloride to sulfate ratio of 1.3, or balanced. For the bitter, 1 gram of gypsum, 0.5 grams of calcium chloride for a chloride to sulfate ratio of 0.43, or for bitter. And then malty, 0.5 grams of gypsum, 1.5 grams of calcium chloride for a chloride to sulfate ratio of 2.7, or malty. So thanks again to Danzy for calculating those those chemical amounts. So are you up to the task, Steve? We got 4 beers in front of us now this time, and I would classify these as an American wheat.
Yep. I would too.
You gotta talk more.
Well, let me just say,
Steve nodded off at during my long exposition.
Well, it was riveting. Let me tell you. Other than the final act, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you like to play?
Jesus. Okay, all right. I'm going to insert a joke here that I will cut out, and we'll just hear Steve's reaction.
Oh God!
See, that's bad. I'm not putting that out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So why would you classify this as a tell that to Robert Ginsburg? He'd enjoy that.
He'll like that one.
Okay. So why would you classify? I have my reasons for classifying as an American wheat as opposed to like a German style wheat.
Mm-hmm. It's an American wheat because it's the crystal hops. It's an American hop, and it's a very bright. The flavor is just kind of, for lack of a better word, in your face, and I think that's a more American style. The German wheats are a little rounder and softer, and they go more to banana.
Right.
Or they're much fuller.
Yeah.
And this is really bright and crisp. It's very crisp.
Right.
All these examples are.
Yeah. I'm not getting any phenolics or any yeasty characters out of this whatsoever.
No, and the mouthfeel is very it's just really, they're really refreshing and light. And again, the German examples of this kind of beer I think is more luscious. Generally, I mean I'm being very, very
right.
Broad in that stereotype, but nonetheless that's what I think.
Yeah, I think, and there's no clove, there's no banana, and I don't know. Would you expect that out of the WBO6 from Safale? I'm not familiar.
Well, I would, yeah, except that, I have never personally brewed 100% wheat malt beer. I've always brewed a wheat beer that had at least somewhere between 40 and 60% barley. And so I don't know what to expect with WBO6 and 100% wheat.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
That's a good point, because sometimes, like we brewed the all barley example of the Dampf
beer, yeah.
The Dampf beer, which was a 100% barley beer, but it did have some of the clovey,
right,
a little bit of the banana-y characteristics that you would expect in just a wheat beer. But those compounds, don't all come from wheat. You can get them in barley as well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know whether 2 grams for a 6-pack or 3 quarts or around 3 liters, is overpitching. I've always had problems getting getting the banana-y, clovey kind of flavors out of wheat beers. So maybe it's my fault. I get more lemon.
I get lemon. I get a really strong lemon. I almost felt like number 2 was a Radler.
Oh.
It was so lemony.
Huh.
It was like, wow, if I could package this up as a kit and call it a Radler or call it a Shandy, I'd be thrilled.
You could call it either Gilda Radner or Gary Shandy.
That's right. Checks will not be honored.
Okay. All right.
You got to be at least 50 to get both of those.
All right. So
Okay.
let's get a tasting.
All right, I'm going to taste it.
We're tasting a number 1.
A number 1. See, that's delightful. It's light, it's crisp, it's lemony,
Yeah.
it's refreshing.
Yeah. It's lemony without being lemon pledgy.
No, not at all.
It doesn't taste like there's been lemon juice added.
And I don't know if the lemon is coming from the yeast or if it's coming from the hop or a combination. I don't know.
Or the wheat, maybe.
Or the wheat. However it's being manufactured in that liquid, it's a good thing. And I like crystal hops. They don't get purchased enough. People don't use them enough, I don't think. I really like them. Every time I run across them in a beer, I'm always really pleased with the result.
That's just really good.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. I do think that as they warm up, I am picking up a little bit of that banana.
There's a little bit of, I don't necessarily think I'm getting banana, but I am getting some phenolics. Kind of not plasticky, but yeast-driven phenolics. Maybe I'm getting more of the clovey side of things, maybe.
Okay. The plastic is the cup.
Yeah. These are Dollar General cups. You can
really high quality plastic here.
Yeah, the fact that our tongues are coated in white plastic dust is not. Just ignore that.
Well, this is a good beer.
Yeah, it's just a good baseline. Number 1 is a good baseline to start.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I know to say about it.
All right.
And it has the head retention is quite good in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Number 2 is the only one number 2 was the only one that had really some head retention issues, and we won't rehash this, but I've had some challenges with these small batches and the head retention, but this was a good batch. I took pictures before I took a picture for the Instagram before the head went away. Let's take a quick break to talk about our friends and sponsors at Tavour. If you listen to the show, you know about Tavour. We talk about them once a month. It's a way to select delicious craft beers that you may not be able to find in your area and have them delivered to you. It's not a Beer of the Month club where somebody else chooses the beer for you. You only pay for the beer that you choose over the course of the month. Signing up for Tavour is free. Just create an account at Tavour.com. That's T-A-V as in Victor, O-U-R.com. And download their iPhone or Android app, and you'll receive notifications for 2 new beers each day that are available for purchase with in-depth tasting notes from Philip at Tavour. This month, look for Civil Society, Sly Clyde Cider Works, Stone Cloud Brewing, Second Sin Brewing, and Trace Brewing. If you're not interested in the beers you see, no worries. Just skip the ones you don't want. However, when you see something that you do want, don't wait. Just click on it and add it to your crate. Your beer arrives fresh every few weeks, allowing you enough time to fill a box and pay the least shipping. So why don't you check it out? It doesn't cost anything to sign up, and there's no obligation to purchase anything. In fact, if I can ask you a favor, go to Tavour.com, T-A-V as in Victor, O-U-R.com, or download the app when you sign up, enter the promo code Basic Brewing, all one word, and you'll get $10 off your first shipment of $25 or more. Again, it's free to sign up, and there's no obligation to purchase. Sign up at Tavour.com or with the Tavour app and enter Basic Brewing as the promo code. Okay, number 2. It's just a nice crisp.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little more crisp than number 1.
I think I do too. Number 2 is like the full realization of number 1.
It's what
number 1 wanted to be.
It's what the beer's mother's. It's what the mother of these beers wanted number 1 to be, but number 2 just did better.
Middle child. This one actually has some bouquet, and the bouquet is very lemony for me.
Yeah, I did notice some fruity hop bouquet off of this one, but I didn't notice off the first one.
It's intoxicating.
It's super lemony. But again, not the lemon pledge kind of lemony. Not like somebody squeezed a Meyer lemon over over these.
Yeah.
Which I've heard there are people who are not fans of the Meyer lemon.
How can you not like a Meyer lemon?
How do you stand? So you're pro Meyer lemon.
I'm definitely pro Meyer lemon. I actually belong to the party.
Have you taken the lemon pledge?
I have actually.
Oh my God!
You're killing me here.
Out of our audience, what are the percentage that rolled their eyes at that joke, and what are the percentage that laughed? I think the percentage that laughed is bigger than the one. If they've been with us for 16 years,
they're laughing.
They're laughing.
That's right.
It's a self-selecting sample.
Oh God.
Okay.
All right.
Number 3. These go faster because the hop ones. We have to read the descriptor between the things. But number 3.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm not getting the nose from number 3, but there are some flavors that are coming through that I didn't get on the others.
Number 3 is a little chalky to me. I get a chalk.
Huh. I get more of a kind of a. I could be talked into chalk. We'll have a chalk talk, but I think I would classify that as less bitter, less hoppy, more along the malt side of things.
Well, I agree with you. I don't get the bright hop character that I felt like I had in 1 and 2. 1 more than 2, but still, those 2 are very similar. Number 3, I think, is quite a bit different from the other 2. And if you're perceiving that as malt, that's a good thing. At the moment, I perceive that as kind of a chalky flavor, and I don't care for it very much.
Huh.
So that's interesting.
It's less bright.
Yep.
And kind of more full. To me, it has more of a fuller mouth feel.
Yeah.
There is some of the lemony stuff in the background. None of the phenolic kind of thing none of the clove or anything, no banana or anything like that. It's my least favorite so far.
Yeah, definitely for me.
It's just kind of blah.
It's just kind of blah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. That's about, yeah.
And that's all I've got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
Number 4. Oh, we should take a break from sampling just to rest our palates. You brewed today for the first time in a long time. What'd you brew?
I did. I brewed a German pseudo pills. So it's a Pilsner by all of its measurements, but I'm going to pitch Loki.
Oh,
pretty sure Imperial Loki.
The Kvike.
Yeah, Kvike, because I want it to ferment quickly and I want to get it moving. And what else about it? Why else am I calling it pseudo pills? Oh, because I'm not going to lager it. I'm just going to move it along, get it done, cold crash it, and probably bottle condition it. But it should be a really nice beer. It's 8.5 pounds of Pilsner malt and 1 pound of red wheat and 5 ounces of Cara Vienna. That's the grain bill. And just a touch. I just kind of wanted just a touch of color and just a real light touch of the little bit of sweetness. You know, a German Pils should not be sweet.
Right.
But I also, I don't know, I just wanted to do just a little something. It should have a memory of sweetness, I think. I'll call it that. And then I used 2 ounces of tetning, 3.2% tetning, alpha acid tetning, at 60 minutes. And then I had a 2.8% Hallertauer Mittelfrüh at 30 minutes and 2.8% Hallertauer Mittelfrüh at flame out.
Oh.
And in order to move our taping day along, I just I pitched that last ounce of hops and turned off the flame.
So it's a no chill batch.
Yes.
Well, it's going to be a very crisp beer, I would say.
Yeah. And we ought to be able to drink it in about 3 weeks.
And there's just enough wheat to thumb your nose at the Reinheitsgebot. And
well, I figured
I like the pseudo pilsner.
Yeah, I'd like to put it's what
And you're using Loki, which is
yeah. So it's kind of gonna. I think it'll drink like a pilsner pretty much. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And but clearly I broke some of those rules. And but it's my beer, so I don't give a rats, you know. And but I like to put a little wheat in things because I think it really helps with head retention.
Mm-hmm.
And
it'll be good.
It'll be good. Yeah. And then the Cara Vienna will add a little color without overdoing it. You know, it'll give it a little color and a little body.
A little body, yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll see. You know, and I'm sure it'll be a good beer.
Oh yeah.
So it was fun. And I also racked over. I have a blueberry mead in the works.
Oh yeah,
I'm real excited about that.
You sent me pictures.
Yeah. So I put this blueberry mead together about maybe 10 days ago, and it's fermented. It's done. It's amazing.
And you fermented it with the beer yeast.
Imperial Pub. So it started life at 1074. 5 pounds of honey, 5-gallon batch, but 5 pounds of honey, a quart of maple syrup, and a quart of tart cherry juice, and then 2.5 gallons of blueberry juice.
Oh.
And then enough water to make 5 gallons.
Wow.
And that gave me a 1077 original gravity. It finished at 1008 this morning when I took a gravity reading.
What did the hydrometer sample taste like?
Good. It's definitely raw and still very yeasty. There's a lot of yeast still in suspension. But I went ahead and racked it off the lees and filled up, my 5-gallon carboy with it, and it's really good.
So did the maple syrup come through?
A little bit. It came through as a little bit of just a little. It's very subtle, but it's definitely there.
Oh wow!
So I'll be really anxious to see how it maintains itself as the mead settles and all the solids completely settle out, and we go from there. But I was pretty amazed at how quickly I used Fermaid O as the as some yeast energizer, and I just did one addition at the very beginning. I pitched the Fermaid O about 3 days in to give it some time for the yeast to get acclimated, and then pitched the Fermaid, and that's it. And it quit working, and so I decided, well, I'm just going to go ahead and rack it, whatever, even if it's still working a little bit. But when I took the gravity reading, it was clearly, it's done, or it's as close to it as it's going to get. And it's really where I predicted it would be. It's at 10, just a smidge over 10%, and that's where it should be. And Pub should die at 10%.
Oh.
And so, Pub is rated to have a 10% alcohol tolerance. The mead is supposedly, in theory, has a potential for 10.5% alcohol. So I'll have a little residual sweetness in there, which should be very nice. I shouldn't have to do any major back sweetening or anything like that to it. And once it clears and it's nice and pretty, I'll go ahead and bottle it and leave it alone for a few months. But we'll be having a nice blueberry mead this fall.
Yeah. Well, it'd be like be good for breakfast with a little maple syrup.
That's what I was kind of.
The
I had in mind
blueberries.
was a maple blueberry. I don't know.
With a little bit of maple syrup, and then you can call it Acer in the Hole.
That's right.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4.
I'll let her roll. Oh, God. The High Gravity Basic Brewing discount code is back. If you go to highgravitybrew.com and purchase a Warthog electric system or controller and use the code EBC75BB, you'll save $75 off your purchase. And to find out the wide range of Warthog products eligible, head on over to basicbrewing.com and click on the High Gravity Basic Brewing Code Deals link on the right-hand side of the page. EBC75BB is good on the Build Your Own Brewing System page, Warthog Brew in a Bag, 2-vessel and 3-vessel systems, and of course the standalone controllers if you want to build your own system out of gear you already have. Take the pain out of propane for $75 off using EBC75BB on highgravitybrew.com. That's highgravitybrew.com.
Oh, wait, that's number 3.
Okay. It's a good thing we label our cups. Number 4.
Number 4 is a return to Happy Land.
I like that quite a bit.
I like number 4.
That may be my favorite.
It's very good.
Because I think it's kind of, shall I say, balanced. Between the kind of malty thing and the super bright,
Woo!
What? You got a little shiver there.
Well, I did it. I was doing a shotgun. I mean a semi-automatic tasting. Boom, 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 boom. I was pulling the trigger as fast as I could, and I think my magazine got jammed. Lord.
I'm going to leave all that alone.
Well, I was trying to get a quick succession of these flavors right in a row.
You're here in Prairie Grove, the scene of a Civil War battle.
We were up on the top of the mountain last night and parked in front of the Confederate cemetery.
Oh, watching the fireworks?
No, we went to a party.
Oh.
We just like to hang out.
You went to a party at the Confederate cemetery? We may need to talk. All right. This is going to be tough.
I have thoughts,
but I may just rely on my initial perceptions and let that fly. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure that I know what is balanced or malty, or I'm not sure that I can make that distinction. But I think that I agree with you that I like number 4 the best, and I like number 2 the second best. And what I like about both of them is that they really bring out that bright, refreshing flavor. They're just good. Mm-hmm. They taste great. They're very palate cleansing. Number 1 is along the same lines, but it doesn't quite reach the level of intensity as 2 and 4. And again, 2 doesn't reach the intensity level that number 4 does for me. And I would agree with you. I think number 4 is the most balanced of them all. It seems like it has kind of everything going for it in the right way. Mm-hmm. And everything as amplified as it can be. And then pour number 3. There's just something about it. I don't know. It's like a redheaded stepchild.
No offense to redheaded stepchildren out there.
No. And so what we're looking for, a bitter, malty.
We're talking house stuff that came out of my tap. Mm-hmm. Bitter, malty, and balanced.
See, I just don't have any idea how to. Bitter.
You want me to guess?
Yeah, go ahead, because I don't.
when these were culled, number 1 to me stood out as the most different. So I'm going to call that house. I'm just going to say that is just my filtered tap water.
Okay.
With no adjuncts added. I'm going to venture out and say number 2 is the bitter, number 3 is the malty, and number 4 is the balanced. Feel free to differ. This is kind of challenging because we haven't tasted the filtered tap water before in amongst these other water profiles.
I'm gonna be cantankerous, and I'm gonna say that number 4 is the tap water.
Oh.
I'm gonna say that number 3 is the malty. I agree with you there.
All right, I said number 1 was the house. I'm making an H.
Okay.
I said number 2 is the bitter.
Yep.
B-I, because balanced also starts with a B. 3 was the malty, and then 4 was the B-A.
Okay.
All right.
And then I'm going to say...
So going on the record.
This is on the record. I'm saying that 4 is house. I'm saying that 3 is malty. I'm saying that 2 is... What's left?
Bitter and balanced.
I'm going to say 2 is balanced.
Ooh,
and,
BBA.
Yeah. And this would be bitter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Phew. All right.
Okay.
Number 1. I kind of hope that you're right, because if the number 4 is our favorite, I'm hoping that
would be nice.
That number 4 is my water that's coming out of the tap. Okay. Number 1, which I say is house, you say is bitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's the house.
Wow.
It's my house.
Okay.
So it's the unadulterated, filtered house water. Number 2, which I said is bitter, you said
balanced.
Is balanced. Is balanced. You got that one right. All right.
Number 3, I called malty. We both did.
Yeah, we both said malty on this one. Number 3. It is malty.
Okay.
Dang.
Well, we're kind of getting the hang of
Number
this.
4, I said balanced. You said hops.
I said house.
House. It is bitter. So
we flipped.
2.
I was wrong.
No, it's 2-2. We each got 2. I said, yeah, I flipped. Yeah, we flipped. I flipped bitter and balanced, and you.
Number 4.
No, yeah, you got. Yeah, you flipped bitter and house.
Mm-hmm.
So, we each got 2, but.
Well, I feel pretty good about picking out the number 3, actually, of all of them.
Yeah, number 3, we colluded. We coincided on number 3, which we said was malty. That was.
So the water profile designed to accentuate malt was our least favorite.
Right, in this kind of hoppy wheat style.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It is interesting that my least favorite was my unadulterated filtered house water.
Well, it was my second to the last. I mean, I actually liked it, but I felt like 4, 2, 1, 3. That was my order. So 1 would be your house, was your house, and that was my third favorite, not my last favorite.
Right, but we both liked the number 4, which was the bitter.
Yeah.
The most.
Yeah.
And then my second was the number 2, which was the balanced.
That was my number 2 as well.
So our preferences were toward the bitter on this style.
Yeah.
Which I think is appropriate for what came out to be this style. I didn't brew it to be an American wheat beer.
Right.
When I designed the recipe, I just designed it based on recipes previous. Very interesting.
So what does this teach us, though? I mean, does this teach us that we
That I need to
I don't
play.
know what it
I need to
teaches
play
us.
with my house water chemistry a little more, and I would like my beers a little more.
Yeah,
That's what.
it's a slippery slope.
That's right. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna turn into Walter White. Oh, wow. well,
Well, it is instructive.
yeah. It's. I think that. Yeah, I think I've got to do some thinking because my just filtered through the pure water filter tap water, I think makes good beers.
Mm-hmm.
We like the beers that I make, or at least you do a convincing job of acting like you.
Well,
like
I've certainly drunk enough of them over the years.
So they don't make so I don't make bad beers using my filtered tap water with no adjustment. But this is evidence to me that I like some beers better that have some fiddling around with it, the water chemistry.
That it definitely does make a difference. And
Oh yeah,
And-
sure.
so this is a hard conversation to have, I think, which I have to have quite frequently with customers who come in the store and they'll say to me, so do I need to do anything to my water? And they're pretty new brewers, and I say to them, that's probably the last thing that you need to worry about,
Yeah.
because there's so many
Yeah.
other things that
Yeah.
are so much easier to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And I advise them to just purchase safe water if they don't have filtered water. And I say, don't use tap water and don't use distilled water, because everybody thinks distilled water is the best
Right.
until they learn a little bit. But and then I say something like, brew a few beers and you'll find the kind of beer that works well with the water that you use, rather than change the water to. It's just the variables are so hard to contain. And I have a customer who is an engineer, and he works with chemistry. I don't know if he's a chemical engineer, but he works with. And we were talking about water chemistry the other day, and he said, to really do it, and you get down to parts per million.
Mm-hmm.
He said, there's no home scale that can do that. We have extremely expensive equipment where I work that can measure that. So he says, when you just measure out a quarter of a teaspoon of this and that, you're off by a magnitude of thousands. So for you to think that you're at this many parts per million, you're not.
Mm.
And it was a kind of an enlightening little conversation.
Now I've got one of those little scales that weighs to the hundredth of a gram.
Yeah,
so it's
wow.
pretty.
That's pretty accurate.
It's pretty accurate.
Well, I don't want to put
So
too.
it's more accurate than like a heaping teaspoon.
Yeah, I just put a slug in there.
Which I couldn't, using with this experiment, I'm measuring out, 0.5 grams of this, that,
Right.
and the other. You need something that's that, and
Right.
they're not expensive. The things
No.
I got.
No, but it was just an interesting discussion to have with somebody that works with that minute amounts.
Right.
And then also, if you're brewing in the barrels of things, then it's a little easier to measure.
Right. Yeah, your margin of error is bigger.
Yeah, you get a little bit more wiggle room. At any rate, this was instructive, and I'm learning a lot from this little series. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but it is instructive to learn that when you fool around with the water a little bit, it really
Yeah.
changes the beer.
Well, I mean, this is eye-opening for me just because it's my water, and maybe we'll use your water next time.
Yeah.
And we'll see if it's different. But it is. I think that I could, by tweaking my water, which I like the beers I make with it, but by tweaking it a little bit, I think that I could make better beers. So.
Yep.
All right, Steve.
All right, James.
This has been a pleasure.
It has indeed.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I'll see you on the flip side.
Thanks again to Steve. If you have suggestions on what sampler you want to hear next, let me know. Something else with the water sampler series? Hops that we haven't done? Malt? I'm open to ideas. These are a lot of fun to do. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. That's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dodson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.